Good morning, everybody. Just while we're waiting for a few final people to join, I'm just going to run through this morning's housekeeping. If I could ask everybody to keep their lines muted throughout the duration of this webinar, it just ensures that everybody has got the opportunity to listen clearly, despite all of the interruptions we face working from home. We're going to ask that people save their questions and type them into the chat box. We'll attempt to answer as many questions as we can during and at the end of the call. This morning, I'm going to be passing you over to Zdenka de Borge. She is one of our account executives here at Interworks, and leading today's conference call is going to be Chris Hasty, who is one of our data engineers. So with that, I think we're probably in a good place to start. I'll pass you over to Zdenka. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vicky. Good morning. Goedemorgen, everybody. I'm based in Amsterdam, in Holland, so that's why also the Dutch language might be involved. Welcome for participating in our webinar. We are part of FinTech Holland, and as you probably know, this week in the community Holland FinTech, we are organizing Amsterdam FinTech team and week. So this is very important for you to know, because you can still join on their website also other interesting webinars, and we are very grateful that we can participate in this agenda and provide also our knowledge and our services to you. So with that, I would like to start to tell you something about us. So as you heard, so we are a company called Interworks, and we are a full stack consultancy company, which you will hear later from me what we exactly do. But yeah, something about us, right? Everything we like to hear stories. So where Interworks is actually coming from. We have started 1996 in Oklahoma in USA, and from that time we actually achieved many milestones. Let's say it's not just only service-wise what we can offer to companies, but also geographically. So as you can see, we are already now also in Europe, in UK, in mainland. We are providing our services in Germany and DACH and German-speaking countries, and also Benelux. This is where my region is. From there, we can move to the next slide, Chris, if possible, because I think it's important to focus on what we are doing. So we are partners for different companies, which I will introduce later, but we started laying the cables for infrastructure, helping companies like Dell with their products. But later on, and you know, these days data and data management is very important. We were forced already, of course, before COVID, to digitalize. We see the values and benefits. So our products and services are going forward, where we can help you with strategy and with your data management. So we started with BI and business intelligence and analytics, but this is of course the way how you analyze your data from your reports, which you already gathered, right, from the past. So this is what we will be also talking about today, Tableau dashboarding and visualizations. Then you go also in the future, you want to see what the data can actually mean to you in the future. So we put on board our new partner, which is called Data Robot, and thanks to them, we can help our clients to create different kind of models and see the predictive analytics. So this is what we can do, part of strategy and data management. But of course, you probably know the situation. You purchased any kind of, let's say, software as a service licenses, and then you know, okay, that's fantastic. We purchased licenses, but our people are not using it. So yeah, we are not the robots, right? We are still human beings. We need to know how to use it, and that's why also Interworks can help you with enablement, with user adoption, create a center of excellence within your company, and yeah, and then we can go and move forward to the next slide also. Yeah, so here just it looks like we really have lots of share in the market with regards to data. We are the Tableau golden partner. We also have a partners in Germany, which is Exasol, Snowflake, as we all know, IPO this last week. We are also partners of them, and Chris Hasti, who is going to give the presentation later on, has also a certification in Snowflake, just discussed this morning. Yeah, I wish I have his knowledge, but yeah, I'm gonna close my part with introducing you to also some of our clients, and that would be maybe the next slide. Exactly. This is those are of course big name companies, but we are proud to support also small and medium business partners. We like to discuss with you. Okay, what is actually what are your pain points in data? You hear often, okay, I need to sort the data in the first place to maybe put them further into some analytics and see the insights. So this is what we everything have knowledge. We have data engineers. We can create embedded analytics in the way as of a portal, which we are, for example, doing for a company. This is my client Nike, and this is fantastic that you can see how after lots of work there is a lot of satisfaction, and hopefully we can bring you also some more insight today with Chris, how to manage further your data and so on. Thank you very much. Then let's go. That's my name exactly. I will probably get in touch with you afterwards. So feel free, or if you don't manage to note my name or my number, I will get into touch with you later on if you wish. And let's back to UK team, to Chris. And yeah, good luck.
Excellent. Thank you, Zelenka. Okay, so as I mentioned, my name is Chris. I am a data engineering and analytics consultant at Interworks. I'm not going to go on about me because I'm sure what you all want to hear about is embedded analytics. So that's going to be the purpose of this talk, and I'm going to talk for about 35-40 minutes about embedded analytics, and then we'll take some questions at the end. So before we talk about embedded analytics itself, let's just take a little bit of a step back towards data. And I've got a quote up on the screen here. I'm sure it's a quote that many of you, maybe all of you, have seen before, but I think it's still a really important and valuable quote. It's 3 years old, but it definitely rings true now more so than ever. The reason behind this, data, it is a universal language, and data can help us see and understand that world around us. And due to this, there are loads of ways to leverage data. There's so many options, so many possibilities. In short, if you have the data for something, it unlocks the capability to achieve pretty much anything. To use the common phrase, the sky's the limit. And due to this, data is highly monetizable. And in this sense, data really is the new oil. This is mainly because, or partly because, data can be used as evidence to build trust. And as a result of this, clients will recognize and trust your brand. And building trust is at the center of the user experience. What do I mean by this? I mean that clients, it's all well and good telling your customers, telling your clients a fact. But unless clients know that they can trust this information, it kind of falls flat. If I said, I don't know, 17% of people make up statistics on the spot, you know, that's just probably a made up statistic. If I can show you all of the information and surveys and polls behind that, then you'd be more likely to believe that information. So data really is an important part of the modern world. But data isn't the end goal as far as the user experience is concerned. Yes, data is very valuable in the world we live in, but data is just that starting point. analytics as well. Analytics isn't the end goal. Analytics is the way that we can reach our goal, because our goal should be to provide insight, to understand outcomes, to verify or validate any actions, to inform decisions. In short, the user experience is driven by this ability to rapidly receive insights. Customers, they don't want to sit there spending ages doing all of their own analytics and research. I mean, obviously some of them do. Some people like having that power in their hands, but it's far more common and it's extremely useful for customers to be able to access an environment and immediately be given insights and information that they can trust. Now, this is the last quote that I'm going to show you today. I just think this quote is also a very important and relative one. The shortened version of this is: the user experience, it is vital. Customers value this user experience and they're willing to pay more to facilitate this. Customers want something that will deliver on a key experience without creating any additional effort on their end. And a great example of a clean user experience is text messaging. I mean, text messaging, it's a very, very simple setup. You type a message, you hit send, you wait, and when you get a response, it pops up on your screen and you can see it. And you can type another message and you can hit send and you can follow this loop. There's more to it under the hood. It's actually a really impressive feat technologically behind the scenes. But from a user experience perspective, that's all there is to it. It's a very simple and effective way of communication. Yes, you can go further. You can search for contacts. You can start conversations with multiple people. You can set up shortcuts, all this extra functionality. But at its core, it's an extremely simple and pure experience. Now, if you had to, I don't know, hit a refresh button every time you wanted to see if you had any more texts and enter your password every time you wanted to read a text, then that entire experience would grind to a halt. Nobody would want to sit there going, okay, check my texts. Okay, I don't have any texts yet. Okay, check them again. Okay, I know I'm in conversation, check them again. Okay, I'll wait for a bit, maybe give it 20 minutes, check it again. Oh, I've missed 4. It isn't practical and it would just be a grind. In the same way, if every time you went to send a text, you wrote out your text, you hit send, and then a little pop-up appeared saying, are you sure you wish to send this message? And you said yes, and it said, okay, are you really sure you want to send this message? And you said yes again. It brings the whole thing grinding to a halt. It clutters that user experience, and as soon as a competitor comes out with a cleaner experience, customers will end up flooding to that alternative service, because the customer does trust a brand, the customer does believe in a brand, but in most situations, if presented with a complex solution and a very simple solution that achieves the same thing, customers want the easy solution because it takes the effort away from them. So this quote, it does specifically mention 2020. It's a quote from 2018, but it mentions 2020, and I quite like this because I like saying I think this quote has fully persisted. A pure customer experience is absolutely critical to any customer-facing platform in today's world. So it's this need, this user experience desire, that is what drives embedded analytics. So embedded analytics, what is it? Embedded analytics is the ability to place analytics from one tool into another. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Obviously, there's far more to it, and we will talk more about it. But in short, that's all it is. Taking analytics from one place and putting it somewhere else. Specifically today, we're talking about Tableau's embedded analytics product and the capability to bring that power of Tableau to your customers in your website at a reduced price to you. There are a whole host of different benefits here, and it all boils down again to that user experience, because the user experience really is key. Now, Tableau is doing a great job in this regard already. It's industry leading, it's highly recognized, it's got a fantastic community behind it, and it's all round just a great analytics delivery platform. But when you take it that step further, when you embrace the embedded side of things, that's where you get this additional value to customers. You have this best of breed analytics experience of combining the power of Tableau with this further functionality. And that leads to this better user experience. As a result of this, customers get an increased value from this offering because when they look at the page, when they consume that content, it's more relevant to them, it's more guided for them, and it's something that they trust and believe in much more. And because it removes some of the barriers for this analytics, it's a greater speed to insight. And all of this boils down to joy for the customer. Because the end goal of any worthwhile user experience is that the customer enjoys using it. If the customer feels joy when using your tool, they will use it more. And as a direct result of that, you have greater customer satisfaction, you have greater customer retention. And then you can see I've listed a few other things that are of value to you as a provider here. I mean, this all pretty much boils down to market differentiation and the ability to monetize your data to improve customer acquisition, improve customer retention, and all round just improve the experience on both sides, both as a provider and for a customer. Just make everything cleaner, nicer, better, and a lot simpler. So one aspect of embedded analytics is branded analytics. It's not just showing the data, but it's putting it in a container that the customer recognizes with your brand. It's saying, okay, instead of just having a standard dashboard, my dashboard is in my website, surrounded by all of my other content and my descriptions, and customers can access it in my approach. And it means that it's something the customer is familiar and happy with, and they recognize it as yours. Now, I'm going to again take a little bit of a sidestep away from the embedded analytics portion of things and go back more towards this data insight approach with a pretty common example and a pretty relevant example, I think, and that's the evolution of the banking experience. So, it wasn't actually too long ago that the only way to understand your banking transactions, your information, was to get one of these statements and just read through it line by line. And effectively, the analytics that you could do was going through this and saying, oh, that's interesting. On the 16th of October in 2003, we withdrew £1.50 for fees. What was that for? Or, oh, look, there's a supermarket transaction here for £29. Why is that? And that was about all you could do. But as time grew on, this information, this basic representation of data, turned into this functionality provided by banks to allow you to download your transaction history. And this is where we started this journey, this data path, where a user can download their data and then they can investigate that data on their own, and they can use that to, maybe if they're particularly handy and analytical, especially if you think back at when this was, people who are particularly handy could build their own platform around this, ingest their data regularly, and go and do all of their own analytics. But most people, the layman, so to speak, wouldn't really have anything more to do with this. They could download the data, but they didn't, because they didn't really know how or what they would do with it once they had it. They stuck with this previous statements approach. Then companies like Mint came along. I don't know if anyone here has heard of or remember Mint. But in short, what Mint allows you to do is connect to multiple different accounts, multiple different banking establishments, and put together basic analysis that they provided. So, just put things together into a few charts. They can be filtered, they can be analyzed, but it's the user that still has to look at these and figure out what it means. So yes, they can say, oh look, clearly, things raised throughout the year, and then there was a bit of a dip at the end of the year, but it doesn't really give you that insight. That's what we're really looking for. And that is when this understanding of a clean user experience and insight, that's what led to the idea of message alerts. So this is now we're in the modern world where it's very regular. People can be going around, spending on their credit card or the debit card or whatever, minding their own business, not really worrying about their accounts. Obviously, I'm not advising people to never worry about their accounts, always be money conscious. But you can go about your day, and out of nowhere, you can receive a message on your phone saying, "Oh, you have a high spending alert. You've done something abnormal." Or maybe this alert will say you are near the credit limit for your account, or you have, this particular account has gone into the negative for some reason or another, or whatever the case may be. Or going further than this, you can have alerts that say something like, you've spent $629 in this category. Usually you spend $252. It just gives people that bit of information. And it's this really, I'm just going to keep repeating it, it's this clean user experience which keeps customers happy, because they don't need to put in any work to get this information. If they don't want this information, they can ignore it, they can sign off, and they can decline it if they wish. But it's just that very nice, simple feed. And yes, here we're talking about banking, but this is relevant to a whole load of different industries, sectors, environments. But the short version is, we as consumers, as customers, we expect more. We've moved past this age where data was all locked away, and we've moved into, if anything, we're almost spoiled by the options out there. And we expect these alerts, this automated advice. We expect this service to be provided. In this day, if you are going to go and, let's say you're going to change bank and use a different bank, you're much more likely to use a bank that does all of this than doesn't, purely because it's in the modern world. And it's this idea, this approach, that does permeate through so many different industries, environments, and that's where Tableau comes in. So in short, Tableau can get you there. We can use Tableau to achieve this similar effect, but for you, for your customers, for your environment. And this breaks down into 3 areas. The entire idea of embedded analytics with Tableau is taking that power of Tableau, which has a whole incredible suite of technology behind it, but it's taking that power and it's giving it additional context by putting it into this environment that your customers are familiar with. So you have this power of Tableau, but you have this power of the context, the customized look and feel, the user navigation that they're used to, this familiar experience in a way that they're familiar with. That's tautology. But also you have the power of extensibility. It's this extensibility which really joins the 2 things together, because the goal of the so I've just received a message on my chat saying, can I share the screen? Can everyone still see the screen?
I can see it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, embedded analytics.
Wonderful, thank you, sorry. So yeah, sorry, it's this power of extensibility that is really the glue here. So Tableau, the context, they're both fantastic on their own. The extensibility is the thing that takes one, puts it into the other, and allows all of this additional functionality for the 2 to interact with one another. And later on in this webinar, I am going to show you some examples of this extensibility. But before I do, I'm just going to go and revisit these other 2, this power of Tableau, this power of context. So firstly, the power of Tableau. I'm not going to go massively into Tableau itself here. I'm kind of assuming that most people watching this demo either are aware of Tableau or are familiar with Tableau. But in short, when you're viewing Tableau as a user, as a standard user, usually you would consume Tableau through what's known as the Tableau server. And then you can, if you want, there's a desktop equivalent to this as well. But there is this functionality, which I'm showing on the screen here, to extremely easily build dashboards and charts and analyze data. And it's entirely click and drag, nice and smooth, nice and simple. And sorry, this image, this video will just keep repeating now. But the idea is this is all something that can be accessed through a web portal using what's known as Tableau's web edit functionality to build simple charts and graphs. There is loads more to Tableau, loads more that I'm not going to go into. But this is one of, and this is kind of one of the main things with Tableau is this ability to build these charts, build these dashboards, have this simple analytics. Going further, we also have this approach that Tableau have brought out recently known as Ask Data, where you can just say, okay, I'm interested in, I don't know, the sum of profit by the category or the product name or whatever. And you can type it in words, and Tableau can understand that and convert that into an existing chart. And it can say, okay, I've picked up the two things you're asking for. Here's information. Now, as I said, there is way more to Tableau, but these two things I like to highlight because for anyone familiar with Tableau, I'm assuming that you know about these functions already, but the advantage of embedded analytics is you can bring this functionality to your user without them having to go and visit your specific Tableau server and go through the specific Ask Data link or the web edit functionality. You can instead place these objects within your own portal, your own website, and still give them that functionality. So here we have an example of functionality for Tableau embedded within a page. And we can see here Tableau allows you to filter. It allows you to change dates, change sector in this particular example. It's dynamic. You can select things and have other actions occur on the page as a result. But this is all now happening within a separate environment. This is no longer happening just within a Tableau server. Someone's accessed this information. I mean, this specific one is by going to one of our websites. But the point is that we haven't gone to a Tableau server. We haven't gone to, I don't know, tableau.interworks or whatever. This has gone to, iwcapitalgroup.com. And we can see from there all of this analytics, all of this information. So we still have this power of Tableau. But what we've included here, just by branding it differently, by putting it that little bit more into what a customer is familiar with, this is where we've started touching on the power of context. And this context, it is the analytics in a familiar web environment, but it's more than this. It's the ability to combine different things, to take multiple different Tableau servers and environments and start working towards this idea of a single source for everything. And when I say everything, what I mean is that you already have, your website, your environments, maybe it's an internal portal, maybe it's an external facing full-on website. But the point is that usually that's already your single source, and then people would be going externally to a Tableau server. Whereas this means that you can directly take your Tableau power from one server, multiple servers, whatever, and you can put it back into your single source, into your website, and you can design this entire full web experience around it. So here's another example. This is one of the curated environments that we've put together, and you can see here we have all of the power of Tableau. So these are all Tableau dashboards, but it's presented in a completely different way. And again, each of these videos will just loop around. But what we have is a user, if they wanted, they could search at the top They can filter by category, filter by tags, but we've removed all of those other barriers that might be in place and just created a completely customized experience. But the real interesting part here is getting the two to talk to each other. This is where embedded analytics really comes in. And this is that power of extensibility. This is this glue that I mentioned that holds it all together. This is mainly facilitated by Tableau's JavaScript API and Tableau's REST API. I mean, it's much more the JavaScript API, but the REST API is a massive boost to this. In fact, there are other APIs as well. I'm not going to go and list through them all, but it's well worth going and doing your own research on this. But in short, it's this extensibility that allows you to adapt Tableau's natural functionality and just expand it and evolve it. So I'm going to show a few examples of things that you can do with embedded analytics. Firstly, we have this idea of utilizing wait time. So usually, I think we're all familiar with seeing a little spinning circle when something is loading, not just for Tableau, but for most environments, a lot of environments, you know, you're waiting for something to load, you get a little spinning circle or something like that. It's something that we're all familiar with, and we all know that it means that we're waiting for something to load. But it's not as interesting, it's not as exciting. Instead, what we can do, so in this example here, we've replaced that general loading screen with our own customized image. And this image runs until the dashboard loads. And it's just a very nice, simple thing that can be done, but it improves that user experience by just making everything that little bit just nicer, cleaner. It's a user knows that something's happening, it knows that something's loading, but it customizes it, and it just makes it that bit more interesting. Something else we can do is we can add additional barriers if we want to our analytics, in terms of maybe providing extra context that a user reads before seeing those, or we can go as far as having something like terms of service. So what we have here is an example where in order for a customer to access anything on this environment, they first must accept the terms of service. So it's a very nice, simple thing, but it's past that standard functionality of Tableau. We can also have this idea of focusing on content and hiding the things that aren't relevant. And actually, this example, I still use it because I think that there's a way it can extend, which I'll talk about in a moment. Tableau have actually, on their own, come a long way towards improving this with the idea of collapsible containers in dashboards. But what we can still do is take this further. So what I'm showing on the screen here is we have a filter option in the top left that's not actually part of our dashboard. It's part of our separate web wrapper around it. In fact, all of those buttons you see on the top, those are not part of the dashboard. Those are additional and extra, and they all integrate with our dashboard. And we can use this to interact with our dashboard and change the filter. Now, people familiar with Tableau, you will know, as I mentioned, there is now this collapsible containers approach. You can have filters within your dashboard anyway, and you can use those and show them and hide them and that kind of thing. But what we also have here, which isn't as immediately apparent, is because this is stored within a web portlet, we can actually share these filters with other dashboards of our choice. So not only can I change this filter for this dashboard, but I could change the filter for this dashboard, go and visit a different dashboard that I know has a similar environment, or that I know that filter should apply to as well, and I can have those filters carried over. We no longer need to worry about trying to custom make, URL actions in Tableau that contain our filters in very specific ways, because that it can't be range filters, or it can't be relative date filters, whatever. It has to be strictly categorical filters and all that stuff. We don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about making sure that the links point to all the right places. We can just say, okay, we've got this filter here. This filter applies to these dashboards, and we can set it on any one of these pages, and it persists and it maintains. And that is a really powerful, helpful thing. And it doesn't even have to come from the user interaction itself. It could be, and this is one of the excellent things that actually I don't have a slide for, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. You can have this idea that when a user logs in, similar to like a row level security approach, a user can log in and something can be picked up from that user and say, okay, that user works for company A, so let's show them the dashboard and the information and the data for company A. But beyond this, we can say, because you work for company A, all of our branding on this page is going to change to the branding that we built specifically for when working with company A. So it could be something like, Interworks for company A and blah, 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 and all this different specific stuff. If someone from company B logs in, then they don't see any of that. They see all the customized branding and all the customized environment for company B. And that can be a really powerful feature. And it all kind of boils down to this very similar thing of being able to control not just our dashboards, but the entire brand experience, but control it all by using things like this extensions API, like this, this JavaScript API, but also additional functionality within your web page to track who users are and who has access and whatever their login is or whatever. So something else we can do is this idea of dynamic analytics and let the user control what it is they want to see. So I've already talked a little bit about this, navigation in the way that a customer's familiar with. So maybe your website typically has a whole navigation pane on the top, and when a user clicks on one, then things are in different folders, or maybe when a user accesses a portal, everything is just a link on the front page. You can customize this to be exactly how you want, but you can actually go further than this. So here we have the idea of a dashboard on the screen, but instead it's multiple different dashboards that can be shown. So a user comes onto this page and they can see some header information at the top. They can see, 5.8 weeks on hand, or there's a 17.18% sell through. They can see how many bookings they've got, etc. And they can say, I'm particularly interested in that figure. Click on it and see the dashboard behind it. And this, again, this is the ability of embedding multiple different dashboards within a page, but in a different way, and actually being able to control that and allow the user to control exactly what it is they're seeing. And again, in a fully customized and branded experience. There aren't too many more of these examples, just a couple more I want to show. One of them, it's the ability to tell a deeper story by mixing and matching content. So the previous example I showed, that was allowing you to tell this deeper story by clicking on a particular area of interest and then having the background information for that appear. But instead, this is the idea of saying, okay, depending on what the user is physically looking at, I want to show them data behind that particular element. So here we have a scrolling page. A user can scroll down to read different bits of text. And depending on the bit of text that they've scrolled down to, a different dashboard appears and different information is displayed. And these are still all proper, full Tableau dashboards. They have all the same functionality. You can click on something to, you can have your actions and your filters and your highlighting and all of that. But it's just, again, it's brought in a completely different approach in a way that customers can very quickly get used to. If this is the kind of thing that either you already provide your customers for other platforms or that you want to start providing to your customers, it's something you can very easily set up and prepare in a way that works well for them. We also have this ability to collaborate with others by facilitating write back functionality. Now, obviously, the idea of write back can be something that you want to do, or in a lot of cases, it will be something that you don't want to do. Not everyone wants any customer that ever visits their portal to be able to go and edit something. But what you might have is to say, okay, well, let's say this is for an internal analytics team, and we are looking at a particular piece of information, and we're not sure about that. One very simple example is to add a comment. So here we've seen, okay, there's an 85% in 2010 on this chart at the bottom, and someone can say, oh, here's my comment, this is the type, let's submit that. And then once it's submitted, then someone can hover over it and say, oh, look, there's the comment. And you can see it even change the color to orange once that comment was there. And anyone can submit these comments, or anyone that has access. And obviously this is all still user controlled and permission based and all that stuff. But we can just allow that additional functionality to write back. And it doesn't have to be for commenting. It could be for any form of write back functionality that you want to allow. But you can put all this within your page, alongside your dashboards, alongside your other content, all in one central location that just works a lot more cleanly. What you can also do is we can speed up customer workflows. And what do I mean by this? So it's not uncommon for, unfortunately, that the people that are actually in need of the insights, they're usually not the people that are doing the analytics, but more so than that, analytics quite often ends up boiling down to reporting, and it ends up boiling down to somebody or a team of people going through and performing all of this work, just so they can then put together some form of presentation and provide that to somebody else. You can have this idea, so we've built something known as the report builder, where you can be looking at a dashboard and you can open up your report builder and you can capture that dashboard. Any filters you've applied, any highlighting, any parameters, all of that stuff, all included, all captured as well. And then you can go to a different dashboard. And on that different dashboard, you can then say, okay, well, I'm going to go into my builder again. I'm going to capture this one as well. Again, maintaining the filters that I've applied or anything like that. And I could do this for as many as I wanted. Maybe when I put it together, I want to customize it a little bit. Maybe I want to reorder them. You can see there's a start and end slide on there as well. I could reorder those, but I can always have a default slide pack, so to speak, that I can then insert things into. I can schedule this or just email it out or download it as a PDF or as a PowerPoint. And this just means that you can set something up very simply to put together these reports without needing to go pretty much that extra mile to say, okay, well, if I'm doing a report that's on 6 different dashboards, I now have to visit my 6 different dashboards. I have to take my 6 different screenshots. I have to put those into my own PowerPoint. I have to worry about the branding. I have to, figure out, oh, did I remember to put in that filter this time? Maybe I should go back and make sure I've added that filter. This is a much cleaner, simpler way. And you can even do this by setting up favorites for a particular type of dashboard if you find that you're revisiting it a lot. Favorites, of course, including any filters you've applied. Or you can do this once, you can schedule it, and then whenever the data is updated, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, then that email is sent out automatically with your completed pack. And then the last one I'm going to show, don't worry, this is the last one, is this ability to provide data-driven tools, so something like R, Python through Tableau, but do that in a more customized experience. So one of the main things really with doing something like modeling is often there are inputs for a user to control and a user to advise on, and they want to build a model based on those inputs and then visualize it. So what we have here is an idea of a data science demo. So we've got an interactive sales forecast. And when we go through this, the first thing it asks for is a set of variables. And we fill in those variables. We hit submit once we have those variables. Those go away to somewhere else. The model is processed through R in this case. And the dashboard is provided to us. And this is all very cleanly in one contained location instead of you having to go from one place to another. And you can set it up in a way where when this information is sent across, then it's tagged with a cookie or tagged with the user information or whatever to make sure that your user is looking at the information that they've just provided in a way that they're happy with. So that is pretty much the end of my demonstration of different functionalities, capabilities. By no means is this an exhaustive list. The great thing about this entire approach is that we are always finding new ways to do things, better ways to do things, different ways to do things, or just new things to do in general. The APIs have unlocked this great platform of technology that mean that we now have a playground where we can do what we like and see what we can do. If you want to put this entire embedded analytics experience forward for your own customers or for your own internal environments, there are two ways that you can go about doing this. The first is you can do it yourself. There's nothing stopping you doing it yourself. All it requires is the time to put into building it and a team that have this web development knowledge. Obviously, you are effectively working on a website here, so you'll need this web development knowledge, and you'll also need to ideally have that web development team understanding enough about Tableau that they can understand and pick apart this JavaScript API and this REST API, so they can understand what bits should be integrating with what's relevant, etc. But by all means, you can do this yourself, and there's nothing stopping you from starting today. All you need are these 4 things that I've listed. But these can be it is a big undertaking, or it can be a big undertaking. And we have seen many clients do this successfully, but we've also seen many clients try this themselves, and unfortunately it hasn't worked out the way they want. And because of that, what I'm going to end on here today is just talking about Curator by Interworks, and that is our platform that we provide to do this for you. So apologies for the massive flow of text on this slide. I'm obviously not going to read it out, I'll go through it. In short, Curator is our own tool that we've developed. It's taken us over 4 years. This has been in production. We work very, very closely with Tableau's team directly to ensure this is always up to date. This is always relevant and powered. It's constantly improving. And it takes all of that work away from you. Obviously, you still have full control over everything that you want, but it takes all of that work and it just puts it on us, so you don't need to worry about how expensive it would be to hire a development team to do something or anything like that. We sit down as part of it. We work with you to facilitate that installation, to brand it the way you want, set up the connections that you want, make sure it's all working and interacting the way that you're happy with. But we do that all without you having to go through what can be a massive, costly undertaking of that entire team of web developers working for often several months just to get a basic version working, when we have one that is built and it does work. And it's got all of the functionality I've demonstrated today and a lot more. And yeah, it's just another option for you. If you are interested in that, please do visit curator.interworks.com. Take a look at our demos, and you can click there to find out more, or you can get in touch with Zdenka, as mentioned earlier. And that is the end of my planned and scheduled talk. Please do keep learning, stay connected, especially in the situation that the world is in right now. It is ever more so important to stay connected. And yeah, if you want, you can reach out to us through any of the messages on the screen here. Yeah, are there any questions?
Thank you, Chris. At the moment, I'm not seeing any questions. There's quite a small group, so if you do have a question, please feel free to unmute your line and we'll be happy to take them.
Hi, everyone. This is Mo from Together Finance in Amsterdam. I do have a question.
Hi, Mo.
Hey, Chris, and the rest of the team. Chris, first of all, thank you so much for this presentation. It was absolutely spot on to point and covered a lot of interesting things. I mean, really, it's rare that you stay through a 40 minutes nonstop presentation and not lose focus, at least from my side. So really incredible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really interesting work as well. I have a question on a topic that you touched upon at the start of your presentation. Really interested to hear your views. You mentioned the text messaging example of the customer experience. I mean, one way you could look at it is that customers would feel the joy that you talked about, if every time they have to send a text message or receive a text message, they have to log in, because that for example, could give them a feel of higher security, right?
Mhm.
So I think the general philosophical question here is, how do you make sure that what you think is joyful, what you think is good for the customer experience is actually there? I think my view is validation. You have to speak to customers. I mean, innovation has to come from clients, but there's also the element of sometimes you have to surprise clients by doing that. So how do you manage between these?
That is an excellent question. So absolutely, security is a massive area, especially with everything that's gone on in the last couple of years. One, if I directly go to the text messaging example,
It's just the security bit. Sorry, Chris, is just an example, right? I just wanted to point out that
absolutely.
there could be other elements that are part of the customer experience. And then my question is really, how do you know that you're going in the right direction? I mean, as I said, one way is to get it directly from the client, but there's always the element of you wanting to surprise clients. So how do you know that what you're surprising them with is actually in the direction that they want? Sorry
That,
to interrupt.
no, that's a very good point. I think the main thing to me that boils down to is communication. I think for anybody to be truly providing a solid experience, you have to understand your customer. So there does have to be a back and forth. If it's constantly just you making your changes, pushing them out, and effectively just seeing what happens, then inevitably you will end up eventually doing something and maybe losing some clients because they look and go, oh, I don't like the new version of this. And I think in the past, we have seen quite a few examples. I'm not going to name any, but there have been quite a few examples of particular platforms making updates that then the customer base really haven't enjoyed. And that is where you need to keep this flow of communication going. It is, in my opinion, always worthwhile having some form of feedback button or something like that available on any of your tools, allowing people to not just to say a very static, I give this 3 out of 5 stars, but allowing people to make comments and putting in the time and effort to actually look at those comments and understand that. The other thing I would always recommend is if you are going to be doing anything that is drastically changing, because in my opinion, doing something that adds functionality usually isn't a bad thing. Most people are very happy to keep using the exact same thing, and then behind the scenes something changes and there's something more they can do, they don't really mind. But if you're going to do something that takes away functionality or that changes existing functionality, I would always recommend having effectively 2 environments up. This idea of A/B testing, having a separate place up where users can go, maybe where they can try the new beta experience, or they can practice it, or they can leave their own feedback before the full launch. And that can make sure that you are in line with your customers and not effectively just stroking your own ego on what you want to do, because it is much more important what the client is interested in and that client experience. I'm hoping that answers the question, Mo.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's really helpful. And one last question that is actually on the product. So, assuming that a company wants to get Curator, I assume that you would that there. I mean, any data that we have on our platform, website, wherever it is where we keep our data, would be fed into Curator via an API, right? So potentially everything that we have can go there, and then we start getting it to create.
No, it doesn't get fed into Curator. So Curator will be reading data from your other environment. So for example, Curator pointed at a Tableau server means that you have the data doesn't leave Tableau server, but it's viewed through Curator, and you still require users to log in. So usually what we would set up is one of 2 authentication methods there. The first being that a user, in order to access Curator, has to enter the same login credentials that they would access for Tableau server. And that way we know that if they can access Tableau server anyway, or they can access Curator, then they can access Tableau server anyway. Or the other is to facilitate some form of federated authentication that ties in with that user, with that company's main authentication method. So if they're already using Okta, for example, then you can just set it up to, again, facilitate that Okta sign in the same way, in the way that they're used to.
Yeah.
I see we
Thank
also have another question. Thank you very much also for Marshall for your questions. It's really, really nice to have also a live discussion. I see also from Alexander Nagel. How can you implement a portal built with Curator into a restricted area of your company's website?
So one of the elements on Curator itself, we do have this idea of Curator being hosted on your own. So you can see even on the standard package in the top left, there is the idea of self-hosted. So if you want to, you can host this Curator yourself. We will gladly help you set it up and we can work with you, and there will always be ongoing support anyway. But you can set this up within your own private area on your site. It doesn't need to stretch any, it's not like Curator is trying to go and access any more external resources. You can just put it within your virtual private network or within your own environment, and keep it all still nice and secure.
I'm not sure if it helps you, Alexandra, if it's a good answer. Otherwise, you can, of course, then afterwards, we can even set up a call just only with Chris, like follow up if there is something you might be interested. So feel free to stay in touch, of course.
Maybe I'll just, if nobody has other questions, I'm conscious of everybody's time, but if I had the chance, I would ask another question related to my last and also Alexander's comment. So just to be clear, if we have our own platform, right, in our company, and we want to be able to let our clients have the option to build reports, build graphs, use this analytics that Curator has, can Curator be part of our platform? As in, yeah, can it just be part of our platform? So you log into our platform as a client, which is what you do every day, and then you have extra functionalities, and you don't know. It does not something that I would lose sleep on, but ideally the clients wouldn't know that this is Curator. It's just from their experience,
Exactly.
From a user experience, they just log in and suddenly the platform has the option of creating reports and creating graphs. Is that how it works?
Yes. So if you imagine, let's say you already have your own website, and let's say you've got 4 links on the left to go, home and categories or whatever. You could have a 5th option on the left-hand side that now says analytics or dashboarding or whatever it is you want to call it, or it could say Curator. And when you click on that, as far as the user is concerned, they've stayed in the exact same place. You can still have the same URL with just a very slightly different, /analytics at the end or whatever.
Yeah.
You can have it branded to exactly match the page that they've just left. And you can even include on there all the links back to the previous information in the same way. So as far as the user is concerned, they haven't gone anywhere. It's just that they've accessed a page that now has a dashboard in the middle, or now has whatever curated functionality.
And there's an element of, involvement from our development team to integrate the front end, I would say, to a little extent at least, right?
Yes, but that is something that we would support you with,
Okay.
and we would definitely help you with that branding. And usually, I think if you do have your own environment, that means that you've already got all of the HTML there for that branding, and we can effectively just shift that across and then customize.
And what's the typical onboarding time for Curator Enterprise, for example? Say we decide from decision to implement it, and from decision to buy it till full implementation? That
is a very good question. I don't, off the top of my head, I wouldn't be comfortable just giving a standard, because I think every environment is different. But also, I'm not part of the team that actually does the implementations. But to my knowledge, I think it's usually a couple of weeks. But if anyone's, please welcome to cut me off if I'm wrong there.
I can interject now. I'm actually sat next to one of our Curator implementation team, and we are looking at approximately 5 working days.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm mindful that we've now gone past the hour, and I believe there is another session after this. But I'm welcome to stick on as long as anybody likes and answer any more questions. But if anybody is kind of itching to get onto the next meeting, I won't be offended. But I'll be here until I see every single participant leave the meeting. So.
I'll stay for a little bit if I can. I mean, since
Absolutely.
you offered, Chris. It's just so again, I follow up on my question. So we said that as you in the example you gave, which is perfectly clear, you have an additional tab that says analytics, you click on it, and then all the functionalities that are available in Curator would be there. I mean, the Curator subscription that we signed up for, of course. Yeah, and would there be, I'm just thinking of our clients, right? If we are to introduce such a thing overnight or over 5 days, apparently, would clients, I mean, is there a user manual that comes with that? Is there, and I'm conscious if that user manual needs a little bit of branding work so that it still looks like it's coming from us, or, I mean, what's your experience in the past? It could be that analytics by our partner Curator, or whatever. I mean, I'm just you guys have done it in the past with other clients. So how did it work?
We've got several different pieces of documentation. Firstly, our backend is entirely documented. So, you know, you as the owner of this, we have full documentation for how you can add dashboards, change dashboards, all that stuff. When it comes to end users, one thing that actually I do wish I'd included a video of in my demo was we do have the option of having like pop-up instructional videos just when someone initially accesses the information. I'm just going to see, apologies if my screen stops sharing for a moment. I'm just going to pull up an actual live demo from our portal. And then I can show you what it is specifically that I'm talking about. So this is one of our demo environments that we've set up for a fictional education sector, or a fictional education company. And when we
Well, the
click into
logo
one
is
of
not very
these,
fictional.
no, they're all based on, yeah.
Nah, just joking, because I know it. I've actually attended courses there.
Oh, that's interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can see here, when we've accessed it, it automatically gives us this pop-up that says, okay, well, this is the district filter. You can do things there. This is your map. Here are some trends. You can access comments by interacting in this way. And the user can say, okay, close and don't show me this again, or just close it. And if they just close it, then the next time they load this page, it will appear again. So that's one aspect of the, sorry, I'll leave that up on the page. That is one aspect of the kind of documentation side. If you want to go more than that, then we can absolutely help you with putting together documentation, but we don't have one out of the box purely because every analytics platform is different. So if we tried to perform or tried to build like a standard one, then the branding would need to change anyway to match your branding. The content would need to change to match your content.
No, understood. And on that, now that I've seen the I mean the demo that you've shown us, how easy is it when buying the service and when integrating it in the front end to change the looks? Again, because as you said, if you want to go from the main website and just click on a fifth tab, you can imagine that the first four have been designed in a way that is matching, right? I mean, this is part of the same website, and you're adding a fifth tab. You want to at least, I'm just giving a very simple example, the colors, the text, the font type, etc., etc. So again, from experience, did adding this curator as a tab or an extra functionality in an existing environment, did that work well? Like,
so yeah, we will go through with you how to do all of it, but I'm just going to bring up, this is the main curator page. So when you first access, you can just get to curator here. But if you go through resources, then within the resources area, you have all this documentation on how to set up, your content management, your data manager security dashboards, additional integrations you want to do. And, we do have a whole host of things there. One of those is this back-end quick start to styling. And that styling is the idea of your fonts, your logos, etc.
Yeah.
So what I encourage you to do is if you just go through curator.interworks.com, go to resources, you can watch any of these videos, and you can always, again, you can get in contact with us here. If you do have any further, I'm not going to run through the actual demo that's starting itself.
No problem.
I'm happy to answer more questions, of course.
No, thank you.
know,
That's it from my side. I mean, I will get in touch with you in case I want to have anything further yourself or Zdenika, but that's incredibly helpful and good stuff, guys.
Yeah,
well done.
I'm really happy. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Feedback. Yeah. Nice. I see also we have, I know we are already off the time. Are there, Pascal is asking, are there references in Curator you can communicate? Yeah, definitely make sure, Pascal, I will make sure that I will get back to you. I think you, Chris, right? You also mentioned we have our web page and we have all the tools, documentation, installations. It's very easy. Of course, when we launch something like that, we try to have supporting documentation, tutorials, because this is how you want to communicate, of course, to your customers or to people who just would like to know about more.
Yeah, I mean, specifically when it comes to references, we definitely do. I'm trying to think if we have any that are on this page, but we definitely do have. We've implemented this for like hundreds of clients at this stage. So what I can do is I can have a look around and actually find some. I'm more than happy to fire across a few people. One I can speak of just off the top of my head, just because I remember that we've used them for a previous blog, is JLL. If you've ever heard of JLL, they're a large property management company. We've implemented their portal, and I think they've put together a really nice looking one. So that's one reference just off the top of my head. But we do have quite a lot more than that. And actually, that's a really good point. What I'll try and do is I'll get this web page updated in general to list some references. That's a really good point. That's a really good idea.
You're welcome, Pascal. Okay, great. How are we doing? I see a few more people stay with us, which is great. So nice also meeting you kind of online or having you here. Yeah, if you don't have anything, I'm gonna back to some of you and write some of the materials, and feel free to, we can set up a call, chat with the team directly how they do it. We can go into the even deeper discussion. But for now, let's respect everybody's time. Maybe you want to join another lesson, another session. Thank you very much, Chris and Vicky, for helping me organize this webinar. It was really a pleasure. I also again learned something, which is so fantastic. And yeah, Chris, thank you. It was really nice.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.